Tape number 3 with Sam Novice. You had mentioned the children, the Polish children.
The Polish families everywhere in Poland, wherever there were Jews in the area, sent out their children, 10, 12 years old, into the bush, into the wilderness where there was no houses, to find where it is some manure, or whatever you call it, from people. In order, when there was some, they knew that Jews are hiding somewhere, because the Jewish people didn't understand they should make in one place. But wherever they were, they did it. And they were sent, they understood to find Jews by that. So they went on that trace, and from there they found some Jews somewhere. They called the police, the Polish police or the gendarmerie, and they got 2 kilos sugar for each Jew. This gave us an impossible opportunity to go somewhere, to hide anywhere, because if they would leave us just alone, don't cooperate with us, don't help us, just let us, you don't see us, leave us alone. 50% of the Jews were alive in Poland, if not for the Polish anti-Semitic behavior. They are anti-Semitic. And the anti-Semitism comes from the Polish Catholic Church. The Catholic Church were nurturing these people from birth for generations with the falsification that the Jews killed Jesus Christ, the Jews are baking matzahs with their blood, every fabrication what they could to church, they were injecting in their parishioners, and this is how these people grew up with such a hate, with such an anti-Semitism against the Jewish people. And this took away the opportunity from us to do anything. There was no possibility to move out 1 foot of the ghetto, and you would be right away captured or killed or advised to the gendarmerie to pick us up. So we were trapped in such an impossible environment that I was young, 17 years, 18 years old, but older people like me, they had the most hardship to move anything, to organize anything. We had spies all around us, which they put in, which now I understand who were the spies and so on. They used the whole Polish population against us, not only the Germans, the German soldiers, the German army. And they brought in from Lithuania the biggest killers against us. And if some of our people, those people who had a little bit knowledge in the army, they were in the army, tried to organize, they were put down and destroyed, as I told you, by the Polish anti-Semitic underground themselves. So it was so impossible. I would like you to know that when the Aussiedlung came, or the roundup, whatever you call it, of the Jews, we were surrounded with artillery. The gendarmerie had artillery all around us and tanks around our town, the city, in case something happened. So were we encircled with armor, with fire all around. It was impossible for anyone to give any move anywhere. And this is how we were. You have to understand that Hitler employed his whole SS army, his gendarmerie, his Shupo, his SD, his Ukrainian SS, his Lithuanian SS, all these thousands and thousands of soldiers, just against 18,000 Jews, defenseless Jews, religious Jews, children, babies, women, old men around. What chance did we have? Where to move? Except to die.
What happened during the roundup? Where did people finally go?
When the roundup, they were kept for 8 weeks to be starved in any way. And when they were weak already, they couldn't walk anymore, they drove them down. They had to walk down to the station, where they put them on cattle cars and moved them to Treblinka to be gassed and killed. This was the end of the people. Little babies and everything. And there was nobody, the whole world, they should come and say a word for us. There was nobody except they went out in war against the Germans because of their own insecurity, because the world knew that they're going to come in one after the other, because Hitler's plan was to kill the Slavs, to enslave the Anglo-Saxons, and this is what they were afraid. But for us, there was no help for whatsoever from nowhere, only enmity, killing from the Germans, from the Polish, from anybody there. Such an anti-Semitism did the Catholic Church build up against us. I want the world to know that. You're not so stupid. We know who did it, who built it up. We know that after the war, Pope Pius was working on Saint Laurent, Canadian Prime Minister, and on Menzies, the Prime Minister from Australia, to take in all these cold-blooded murders who were still alive, who the Russians did not manage to wipe out, and give them protection here against justice. Give them protection against any claim against them. Protecting them till today, unashamed. They know they were the killers. Because when they sent an embassy to Linz, Austria, to take in the SS, the Ukrainian SS were registered as Polish people. They sent a Ukrainian to bring them in, to the embassy, to bring them into Canada. They knew who they are. They knew they are mass murderers. But Saint Laurent, Prime Minister Saint Laurent and Menzies agreed with the Pope Pius to take these killers in to these countries and protect them against justice.
1942. Who from your family went to Treblinka?
To Treblinka, my mother went there with my two brothers, Joshua and Yitzhak, 5 years old, my sister 8 years old. And Anenti came to us from another house. She came to us to be with us, to go with us together, whatever it is. They were sent to Treblinka, and they died in Treblinka. And and me, my brother, and my cousin, we went to the factory where we worked, and from there we went to Auschwitz.
Can you tell us about the factory?
In the factory, we were working, unloading. I was working at a crane where I loaded iron on trains for the purpose of redoing steel from it, and the Martin ovens. And my cousin was working on loading and unloading train cars. My brother also the same, loading. And we were working every day there, and sometimes we came to work now, half an hour later they captured us again to unload again trains because they came in. We had to go again for another 8 hours to unload trains, which we had to work 16 hours already. Very hard work. Ukrainians were watching us, and they had also Polish anti-Semitic foremen to watch us, to work, and only on the ration what they gave us to eat there, soup and some bread. And
what was the name of the factory?
Ostrowiec Hochofen und Werke in German. And in Polish they called it Zakłady Ostrowieckie.
And how many people worked there?
There are about 10,000, I would say, 10, 12,000. Not Jews, I mean, all the people together, 10, 12,000. And from there some people escaped, which some lived through, some were killed from the factory out. And the rest were rounded up in 1944 July. The Ukrainian SS took us to Auschwitz. When we came into Auschwitz, to Birkenau, our train unloaded us. We had to stay at the gate. We didn't go in yet, but we watched in through the gate where they were taking about 3,000 or 3,500 gypsies from the barracks, marching them into the guest building, to the building which is supposed to be bath. They marched them in, and the other side they took them in out dead, and then they piled them up. A whole day they were gassing them and piling them up in the pits around the Birkenau, that oven. They had a pits and thing. And in the evening, when they took us into the barracks, they put fire in, and it exploded. They had gasoline poured in there in in the pits on where these 3,000 gypsies were burning. And they took us in the barracks from these gypsies, and we were sleeping a whole night naked, without clothing. We had to undress, leave the clothing in that bathhouse, and go there naked. And there we were sleeping naked completely in the barracks, about 1,000 in a barrack, 500, 1,500 in a barrack, and with the carpets of the gypsies. On their carpets we were sleeping. And they were burning a whole night. The smell from the people, a few days, were the smell from grieving. You know what grieving is? The very smell. They were smoldering there for about 2-3 days, burning all around that area where it was, they put wood and people, 3,500, and there was so much smoke. And the smoldering, the grieving, we thought we were going to die from that day, such a smell. And after 2 weeks in staying there, they gave us only soup a day, a little bit of soup a day. No bread, no food. After 2 weeks being there, they took us back to that bathhouse, and they shaved us and they cut us, so we knew that we are going to live. Because the people who worked there, the commando, this was, I forgot it, they called themselves Rome Commando or something, they shaved us. They said that we are going to sending us to war. Because others whom they did not shave, they went right away in the gas chambers. So we came in, all three, into the gas chamber, which was also a bath. And we saw, in the left side was a window about 16 feet high, was a window. And the window when we came in was open. And they had, coming down with the water, the pipes from water, coming down from the ceiling, which we had pipes. And all the walls were just empty walls. In the right side was a wall with a blue window, which they looked in through, through the window. It was specially built with crates, with iron crates. And the walls were 16 feet high, was the ceiling, from where the water came when we came in. And we washed ourselves, and going out in the side where they took out the people they gassed, they took them out through that back door, where they piled them up on wagons and took them to the pits, where they burned them. They didn't burn them in gas chamber, in crematories. They built them mass. They piled up 1,000, 500 in a pile, and this is how they burned thousands of people in the pit. And we went out through the very same door, and they showed us the people. I came out naked, the first time in my life. Girls of 18, 20 years old, beautiful girls, shaving their head. In there, they were prisoners themselves. One gave us a pair of pants, one gave us a striped jacket, one gave us a shirt to put on, and the shoes we had our own shoes. This they didn't take us away, the shoes only. And the rest they gave us no socks, just they gave us pants, a jacket, and they gave us with us also an underwear and a mitt, a hat on our heads. And this is the way they marched us from Birkenau to Novice, 7 kilometers. And over there we came in a camp where they received us, and they asked everybody what he can work on. So I gave him a carpenter. They took our tree in another area. They put us in a block with carpenters. Everybody were assigned to carpenters.
When did you get your number?
When we arrived in Birkenau the next day, when we naked, they came in, they numbered everybody.
You said you'd met someone in Auschwitz.
But you're talking about Pietrushka? Pietrushka I met in Ostrowiec. They brought him from Lodz to Ostrowiec. The Hochwasserwerke was Esh Pietrushka. He was the biggest artist or musician in Lodz, the biggest of Poland, Esh Pietrushka, very well-known name. As a matter of fact, when they gave him to work on a car to unload coal, his hand. Everybody helped him to unload it. Everybody shoved out. He should be able to go with us together back to the barracks to have a rest. That man, he was with an adopted son. I believe his son wasn't even Jewish. He had an adopted son who had with him there.
You also mentioned you met Mengele.
While being in Novice, we worked in the EGF army industry, which was across this road, the other side. We lived in the barracks in Novice. This was 7 kilometers from Birkenau, and we walked across to EGF army industry. This was a factory where they worked 100,000 people. We were building still more factories. I worked as a carpenter there. My brother and my cousin also. And I'll read this soon. So in this factory, what we were talking about? What is the question again?
When you met Mengele.
Oh, while in the factory, in these few months from July to January, Mengele came in the factory on a Sunday, and he was standing just outside of our door with a group of his soldiers, SS, and they let us run naked out from one door, running that he can see us, coming to the other door. Where Mengele said the one he wanted, he was too thin already, if he was too skinny, or he was too old for him, like 40 years old, 30 years old, he took his card. So the Blockälteste, who was with us, he was a German prisoner. He gave him, he called out my name, he gave him the card. No, he held the card. If he didn't like me, he took the card, Mengele. And if he thought I can still work, he let me go through. So they picked out quite a few people all the time, every time, which they were too old or they were too skinny, and he thought he took them away, and they burned them, they killed them. They took them to Birkenau, and over there they finished them off. So I went through 3 times that with my brother, my cousin, and this Mengele was the new tall guy, big shot, with a few others, and picking out the cards, he thought they're not useful anymore.
Were any of these people that you knew selected for his experiments?
This I don't know what they did with them. As I told you, I met one guy after in Theresienstadt who was castrated, and he told me he can have no children anymore, that he was used as a guinea pig in Auschwitz. I met a woman also, what she said that she is not going to have children anymore. What they did with them, they never said. I never talked to them what they did with them. Because usually I believe that the people they have on as guinea pigs, they killed the most of them. After they didn't use them anymore, they killed them. So the only maybe a few survived. I heard about that quite a few survived to wear as guinea pigs. But I believe not too many. I don't believe too many, because usually killing somebody was nothing. I would like also to go back one in Auschwitz. When we were in the Novice camp, every evening we came from the work, everybody looked to the left, because we were hungry. We wanted to go back. We got a soup. They gave us a soup in the evening. So if we're going to stay at the door or we are going back to the barracks. So when we give a look on the left side and we saw that the hanging equipment was prepared, we knew we were going to stay another hour or two, because hanging is going to take place. In almost every second day, hanging took place. Sometimes took place every day. Let me mention one thing, which I'm sure this is terrible. It was already air raid The English airplanes came there already. So, in the kitchen,
This was in which year?
1944. So it was an air raid on the factory there. And we were in Novice. And there was a boy, 12 years old, a French boy, in there, in camp. This French boy he was so hungry that he ran into the kitchen compound. Not the kitchen, the compound of the kitchen where they had color apps. Do you know what color apps are? What they give the cows to eat, big, not potatoes, it's like melons. Color apps. You don't know what it is. Well, they gave us that to eat, you see, but this is for cattle to eat. So they gave us this, they cooked soup of that for us. So this guy went in and grabbed a color app. He was so hungry, boy, and he was eating it. And here, the bombs were flying there. The boy didn't give a damn. If he could eat a color app, he didn't care where the bombs are going. He didn't understand even. A young boy, 12 years old. He came one evening, the boy stands on the stand with a hand behind him, screaming, "Mama, mama, mama, mama." He was screaming, "Mama, mama, mama, mama," screaming, that boy. They read out, Schutzhäftling, number so and so. No, Reichsministerium der SS, Reichsministerium des Innern hat verurteilt dem Schutzhäftling, 12-year-old boy, Schutzhäftling, für Berauben Lebensmittelmagazin zum Tode verurteilt. And they hanged him. 12-year-old boy screaming, "Mama, mama," for a piece of color. Could you believe it? This was German culture Germans. 12-year-old boy, "Mama, mama." And one day they killed 3 people. These 3 people, when they came out to be hanged, they went up and they screamed, "Kameraden, hold your heads high, wir sind die Letzten." Flugverdacht. They said they thought that they want to run away, which is not true. They took them out just to hang 3 people. They made special to hang 3 people. Such murders in one shot. German boys, Jewish boys. They were all Jewish German boys. Kameraden, Kopf hoch. Wir sind die Letzten. Five years under Hitler occupation. 5 years to endure such brutal animals in a human face. And this is taking now part in the world, in a community of world of nations. It's a shame for the world to have such brutal animals, such underworld in the members of all nations.
When did you leave Novice?
January 16, 1945.
Why?
The Russians came in the area. They took us away to, we marched to Gleiwitz, which was about 100 kilometers. And on the way, the Ukrainian SS were shooting one by one. People who couldn't walk anymore. They were weak, or something like they shot them on the spot. They could have made it, they could have walked, but you get tired when you walk. If you are 30 years old or 28 years old, you get more tired than a 20-year-old, than a 19. They shot on the way, a lot of the people left them on the road, shot. When we came into to Gleiwitz in the evening, in the night, there was such a chaos there. We were surrounded by the Ukrainian SS with machine guns in their hand all around us, like we would have any weapons. We didn't have anything. And the next morning, they loaded us in open trains, and they drove us to Buchenwald, where on the way they took us 5 days, 6 days, didn't give us any food, anything to drink. We only lived on snow. What we took from, we were standing to most of the people, took snow down from the people, and we licked it, the snow. And on the way, when we came in Czech Republic, in some places our train went behind intersections. And on this an intersection on the top, there were standing people who went to work in the morning. And they were throwing in their breakfast to us, their lunches. So some people caught something, some people didn't. So who didn't have anything, didn't catch anything, didn't have something to eat, they died. The others lived 5 days to hold out. Was not for everybody, not everybody. So we had some deaths. We came to Buchenwald. They took us in a Holz place where they had wood. And they took us overnight, and in the morning they took us through a pool of water, but this was chloride, the water to disinfect. We went through burning like hell. It was no water, it was only that stuff to disinfect us. So when we came into Buchenwald, they disinfect us, and they let us go, they drove us down to the barracks. They didn't drive us, we walked down to the barracks, where they gave us 12 o'clock the first little bit of soup, about 12, 1 o'clock in the night. So the other, naturally the prisoners, gave us the soup there, and we went into these, do you see these, where in Buchenwald, where we sleep, in Buchenwald, they had shelves, into the shelves. So we went into the shelf, we slept there until for 2 weeks. And we didn't get anything to eat, just the soup, the day. And on Sunday they gave us some Pellkartoffel. You know what Pellkartoffel are? Yeah?
Explain it.
This is potatoes cooked in the skin, with the skin. So they gave us 2, 3 kartoffel. This was Sunday. And the rest, no food. By the end of 2 weeks, they put us in trains and they drove us out to Ordruf. In Ordruf, it kept us overnight. They sent us into Krawinkel, which they marched us into Krawinkel. In Krawinkel, we were underground bunkers, emptied out bunkers from ammunition, where the only air came in is through a pipe in the ceiling, a little pipe. And when we came in the night, they closed us up from the outside. Ukrainian SS shut us up, and 2 o'clock in the night, they opened up, rouse! We had to be prepared. I couldn't even open my eyes. Rouse, because we worked from you go out 2 o'clock in the night, you stayed till 6 o'clock, we stayed in the bush. Cold, it was January, very cold. And we were not dressed for such a cold. I put the paper underneath of my jacket so that the wind shouldn't go through like that. If they would have cut me, that I have paper under my jacket, that's that sentence. They hang you on the spot. But I couldn't care less. I couldn't stay without that. Couldn't breathe. Anyways, and we came in there. They put us in these bunkers. 6 o'clock in the morning, we walked out to work. Walked out there also, carpentry work. And from the carpentry work, we worked the whole day till 6 o'clock. And 6 o'clock, they marched us back. And they kept us with us standing outside till 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, they let us in the barrack. We had a soup. And we went to sleep. 2 o'clock in the night, 2:30, bingo again. Open the door.